Good evening. Tonight we find ourselves at the crossroads of global commerce, where the calm of routine trade has given way to a tempest of uncertainty and drama. International trade, once a quiet affair conducted behind closed doors and sealed with handshakes, is now a chaotic global spectacle. The world's ports are bustling, stock exchanges are in turmoil, and the flow of goods has become a high-stakes game watched by millions. At the center of this storm stands President Trump, wielding tariffs with the unpredictability of a toddler with stickers, placing them wherever he pleases, often with little warning or explanation. The America First strategy means hefty taxes on imports, aiming to protect U.S. industries and revive manufacturing jobs. For some, it's a bold move to restore American strength. For others, it's a risky gamble with global consequences. But these tariffs are more like anvils than shields, crashing down on allies and adversaries alike. The cost of goods rises, supply chains are disrupted, and uncertainty spreads through every link of the global economy. Countries once seen as friends now view the U.S. as unpredictable, their leaders left scrambling to respond. Diplomatic meetings grow tense, and alliances that took decades to build are suddenly on shaky ground. The logic behind these moves is a tangled mix of protectionism, economic theory, and personal grievances. Economists debate the wisdom, while businesses and workers brace for impact. Ignored calls from world leaders lead to economic retaliation. Negotiations stall, and the threat of escalating trade wars looms over every conversation. The result? A world on edge, bracing for the next tariff tweet or policy announcement. Markets react in real time, and uncertainty becomes the new normal. This isn't just a trade war sequel. It's a director's cut with more chaos, more plot twists, and higher stakes than ever before. Every day brings a new headline, a new ripple through the global economy. The global community scrambles to adapt, retaliating with their own tariffs and countermeasures, threatening decades of cooperation and the stability of international trade. As the storm intensifies, the world watches, wondering who will weather it and who will be swept away. President Trump is not known for his patience, especially when it comes to being ignored or sidelined by those he considers partners on the world stage. For a leader who thrives on attention and direct engagement, silence from allies is more than just an inconvenience. It's a personal affront, a challenge to his authority and style of leadership. Over the past few years, many of America's closest allies have learned this lesson the hard way. When they hesitate to respond, delay a meeting, or simply don't show the enthusiasm Trump expects, the consequences are swift and often dramatic. It's a bit like ignoring a buzzing wasp at a summer picnic. Pretend it's not there, and you might just get stung. The sting in this case comes in the form of public rebukes, sudden policy shifts, or even economic retaliation. In the world of diplomacy, where subtlety and patience are often prized, this approach is a jarring departure. Relationships that once relied on quiet negotiation and mutual respect are now subject to the whims of personal chemistry and public spectacle. When allies avoid calls or drag their feet on commitments, they don't just risk being left out. They invite a response that's loud, costly, and impossible to ignore. Within the Trump administration, unavailability is often seen as outright defiance. This perception can quickly escalate into aggressive trade actions, tariffs, or even threats to long-standing agreements. Take Brazil, for example. When Brazilian officials tried to reach out, their calls were met with silence. The next thing they knew, they were hit with a barrage of tariffs. A clear message that being ignored would not be tolerated. This isn't just a simple communication breakdown. It's a deliberate refusal to listen. A signal that dialogue is conditional and respect must be constantly earned. Even America's closest neighbors like Canada and Mexico have found themselves navigating a new, more transactional relationship, one where every interaction is weighed and measured for loyalty and deference. Leaders who fail to show enough enthusiasm or gratitude risk being called out in public, sometimes in humiliating fashion, as a warning to others. For many nations, the choice becomes stark: appease the president and maintain economic stability, or stand firm and face the possibility of damaging consequences. The result is a climate of unease, where alliances feel fragile and every interaction is scrutinized for signs of personal loyalty or disrespect. This approach doesn't just strain relationships, it fuels a narrative of disrespect and grievance, which in turn is used to justify even harsher responses. In this new era, diplomacy has become a high-stakes game of chicken, where the first to blink risks losing not just face but real economic and political ground. Brazil's situation exemplifies tariff diplomacy's personal touch. On July 9, Trump announced a 50% tariff on Brazilian imports. The reason? Brazil's legal pursuit of Jair Bolsonaro, a Trump ally. This wasn't about trade, it was about loyalty. Bolsonaro's legal troubles in Brazil became a U.S. economic issue. The tariff was a message: stop targeting my friend, or face economic ruin. Brazil took the issue to the WTO, arguing against this precedent. The fallout is immense, threatening jobs and stability in Brazil. For the world, it's a chilling signal of personalizing foreign policy. Global trade should be governed by rules, not personal relationships. This entanglement creates unpredictability, jeopardizing the system. The message is clear: no one is safe from politically motivated economic attacks. The Brazil case is just one example in a much broader and more complex global tariff strategy. What began as a single policy decision quickly rippled outward, affecting not just one country, but the entire international trading system. In March, a sweeping 25% tariff was imposed on all steel and aluminum imports entering the United States. This move was intended to protect domestic industries, but it sent shockwaves through global markets and disrupted long-standing trade relationships. Even close allies like Canada, Mexico, and Australia found themselves without exemptions. The message was clear: no country, regardless of its history or partnership, would be spared from these new trade barriers. This decision set off a chain reaction, like a row of dominoes toppling one after another. Retaliatory tariffs soon followed, as affected countries sought to defend their own economic interests. Countries such as Canada and the European Union responded by targeting iconic American products, whiskey, peanut butter, and even Harley-Davidson motorcycles, deliberately choosing goods that would hit home both economically and symbolically. This is how trade wars begin. One wall is built, and soon others rise in response. Each new barrier makes it harder for goods, services, and trust to flow across borders. The net of tariffs has only widened, with threats and new measures now looming over major economies like India and Japan. The uncertainty is spreading and no nation feels entirely safe. As these tariffs multiply, a cascade effect threatens to unravel the intricate web of global supply chains. Manufacturers and exporters everywhere are left scrambling to adapt to the new reality. Initially, these tariffs were justified on the grounds of national security, with leaders arguing that protecting steel and aluminum was vital for defense. But the rationale has shifted over time. Now the justifications seem to change with each new announcement. Sometimes it's about jobs, other times about trade deficits or political leverage. This unpredictability creates confusion and instability for businesses and governments alike. With the rules constantly shifting, it becomes nearly impossible for nations to plan ahead or avoid becoming the next target. Diplomats and officials are left frustrated, struggling to find common ground. This ongoing uncertainty breeds instability, rattling financial markets and pushing the world ever closer to a full-blown trade conflict. The stakes are high and the risks are growing. The global economy now stands at a crossroads, its nose at risk, with no clear path to peace in sight. The world watches anxiously, hoping for resolution before the damage becomes irreversible. Traditional alliances strain as focus shifts to the Middle East. Trump bypassed Canada and Mexico for Saudi Arabia, signaling new priorities. The goal: secure a Nobel-worthy diplomatic breakthrough. Saudi investment in the U.S. is sought with a focus on economic power. This transactional diplomacy prioritizes money over shared values. Trump's business interests align with foreign policy, raising conflict concerns. Gulf states enjoy attention but worry about U.S. unpredictability. They are offered grand deals, but fear the president's fickle favor. The shift creates anxiety, with long-term planning a risky gamble. The Middle East pivot reflects a bold strategy, but with uncertain outcomes. As the Middle East gets attention, Canada and Mexico feel the chill. The U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement's stability now seems fragile. Canada's relationship with the U.S. is tense, with retaliatory tariffs in play. Mexico faces criticism and threats over trade and immigration. The snub of a presidential visit adds to the climate of instability. The shift from mutual respect to transactional relationships is evident. Tariffs on one country hurt the integrated North American economy. The disregard for economic integration shakes the partnership's foundations. The result is a wary and defensive posture among allies. The North American partnership, once a source of prosperity, is now uncertain. The stock market reacts to tariff policies with volatility. The threat of a trade war injects anxiety into global markets. The S&P 500 is down, reflecting business community concerns. Asian markets, deeply connected to supply chains, flash warning signs. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index rises, betting on China's benefit. A policy meant to strengthen America creates opportunities for rivals. World leaders warn of trade war consequences, risking global recession. Tariffs increase consumer prices, hurt businesses, and threaten jobs. The interconnected world means no winners in a trade war. The markets react to the unpredictability of global economic leadership. Amidst trade wars, new deals emerge in a confusing strategy. The administration plays good cop, bad cop with tariffs and deals. Japan faced a tariff threat, then struck a deal with reduced tariffs. The Trump playbook: create a crisis, then sell the solution. The Philippines followed suit, negotiating under duress. These deals offer short-term gains but undermine global trade rules. The U.S. dictates terms, moving away from predictable trade systems. This hub-and-spoke model risks long-term stability for short-term wins. The WTO's role is challenged as bespoke agreements replace rules. The global trading system faces a lawless future with uncertain outcomes. We stand in a deliberately destabilized global economic landscape. Old diplomacy and trade rules are replaced by personal relationships. The risk is not just a trade war, but profound unpredictability. Businesses, investors, and allies face a dangerous environment. A multi-front trade war could trigger a global recession. Tariffs are taxes, raising consumer prices and hurting businesses. The international order risks breakdown, leading to protectionism. Alliances are tested, creating a fractured, unstable world. Policy driven by impulse and ego creates a high-wire act. The world seeks stability, but chaos reigns, with uncertainty ahead.